If you're watching this, you've just unlocked a hidden file. They said Area 51 was empty. Just a patch of desert, they claimed. Sand, wind, and secrets buried beneath the Nevada sun. For decades, that was the story: a test site, a restricted zone, nothing to see here. Yet, the more they denied, the louder the whispers grew. And then, something leaked. The first files appeared like ghosts in the circuitry of the internet. Blurred photos, military reports without names, radar signatures with no aircraft to match. They were stamped with clearance codes older than most of us had ever heard of. Lines blacked out, words replaced by silence. But what remained told a story too strange to ignore. They said Area 51 was about planes, stealth bombers, spy projects, cutting-edge experiments. But the leaked memos hinted at something else. Test chambers not for weapons, but for biology. Energy readings that didn't match any known source. And then came the flight logs. Coordinates of objects that defied every law of motion known to physics. What if, I asked, Area 51 wasn't just a military site, but a vault? A vault for things too advanced, too impossible, too unexplainable to exist in the open world. They say science is about discovery, but what happens when discovery outruns understanding? In one memo, dated decades ago, a scientist wrote, "Containment successful, replication incomplete. No one knows what they were containing or what they tried to replicate." But the handwriting trembled. Even on the photocopy, you could feel it. Fear. Something that didn't belong on this planet. When those leaks surfaced, the official channels called them hoaxes. Old documents, they said, misinterpreted. But somewhere, someone made sure that every trace of those files vanished within hours. Servers wiped, accounts deleted, people who shared them gone offline. And yet, the desert remains. Vast, silent, unblinking. Every night, lights still flicker above Groom Lake, lights that move like no aircraft we've built. They said Area 51 was empty. But emptiness doesn't need guards, radars, and armed patrols, does it? So maybe the truth isn't about little green men or flying saucers. Maybe it's about power, the kind that bends reality itself. The kind humanity found too soon and locked away in the sand. They said Area 51 was empty, but history has a strange habit of hiding its most important secrets in plain sight. They said Area 51 was nothing more than a testing site, a patch of barren desert sealed off for national security. Yet, that very act of sealing it off, of denying, of insisting there was nothing there, lit a spark in the human imagination that has burned for decades. Secrecy, after all, has a strange magnetism. The more something is hidden, the more we need to see it. The more they say, "There's nothing here," the more our minds whisper, "Then why hide it?" This paradox lies at the heart of the Area 51 mystery. What began as a classified military facility in the Nevada desert became one of the greatest symbols of secrecy in modern history, and proof that curiosity, once stirred, becomes unstoppable. When the U.S. government drew the borders of that restricted zone in the mid-20th century, the country was deep in the fever of the Cold War. The atomic age had just dawned, and humanity was toying with forces it barely understood. There were nuclear tests in the desert, secret bombers in the sky, and scientists pushing the limits of possibility. But secrecy was not just a shield against enemies, it was also a tool of control. To maintain an edge, they built a fortress of silence, wrapping every project in layers of classification. The existence of Area 51 itself wasn't even acknowledged until 2013, decades after the world already knew its name. By then, its legend had outgrown any explanation the government could ever give. Human nature recoils from silence. When something is hidden, we fill the void with imagination. And so, from that barren stretch of Nevada, stories began to take shape. People claimed to see strange lights darting across the night sky, moving faster than any jet. Rumors spread of objects that stopped midair, changed direction without turning, and vanished in an instant. Farmers, truck drivers, and military men alike described the same impossible maneuvers. Soon, whispers turned into headlines. Maybe these weren't secret planes. Maybe they were something else. But the government's reaction only deepened the mystery. Instead of clearing the air, officials denied everything. They dismissed the sightings as weather phenomena or misidentified aircraft. They ridiculed those who spoke up, labeling them cranks or conspiracy theorists. And with each denial, the legend grew stronger. Because that's the strange thing about secrecy. It doesn't extinguish curiosity. It feeds it. The more you hide, the more people want to know. By the 1960s, Area 51 had become a symbol of all things unknown. Pop culture latched onto it. Books, radio shows, and tabloids began spinning tales of crashed UFOs and alien autopsies. The Roswell incident of 1947 was woven into the Area 51 mythology. Even though Roswell occurred in New Mexico, not Nevada, the two stories fused into one narrative that the U.S. government had recovered extraterrestrial technology and was studying it in the desert. People wanted to believe it because it filled a deeper human need, the need to feel that the universe holds secrets far greater than ourselves, and that somewhere, someone knows the truth. Yet beneath the myth, there was always a grain of truth. Area 51 really was a testing site for secret aircraft, planes so advanced for their time that they might as well have been alien. The U-2 spy plane, for instance, was tested there in the 1950s, flying higher than any known aircraft. To ordinary eyes, it looked like something impossible, glowing silver against the dusk. Later came the A-12 and the SR-71 Blackbird, machines capable of speeds that defied the limits of known aviation. To those who glimpsed them from a distance, they weren't human inventions, they were omens. But because the government couldn't admit these projects existed, every sighting was officially dismissed. And so, fact and fiction blended seamlessly into one endless loop of speculation. The irony is that secrecy, meant to protect truth, ended up creating countless versions of it. Each denial pushed the public further into conjecture. Each blackout, each no comment, each vanishing radar blip became a piece of evidence in itself. People began to assume that if the government was hiding something, it had to be extraordinary. After all, ordinary things don't require extraordinary silence. This cycle of secrecy and curiosity became a mirror reflecting human psychology. We are drawn to the forbidden, to the locked door, to the thing we are told not to touch. It's an instinct older than civilization itself, the desire to uncover, to know, to understand. When faced with secrecy, our imagination expands to fill the unknown. The less we are told, the more elaborate our stories become. Area 51 was no longer just a military facility. It became the stage on which humanity projected its fears, hopes, and cosmic questions. As time went on, the mythology grew in sophistication. Theories evolved. Maybe it wasn't about aliens at all, but about experimental technologies, free energy devices, time travel, interdimensional research. Each idea found its believers. Each believer added new details. Entire communities formed around decoding, leaked blueprints, and analyzing satellite images of the base. Every new photo, no matter how grainy, was dissected as if it contained the secrets of the universe. The desert, once thought barren, became a living symbol of how curiosity can thrive even in the harshest conditions. Governments have long understood the power of mystery. Secrecy can be used not only to protect but to distract. When something becomes so wrapped in rumor, it starts to serve as a convenient shadow, a place to hide the real truths behind the noise. Some believe that Area 51's mythology was allowed, even encouraged, to grow for that very reason. If the public was busy chasing UFOs, who would think to ask about stealth bombers, spy satellites, or other black-budget projects? In that sense, curiosity became both the enemy and the shield. Yet, there's something undeniably human about the persistence of the mystery. For generations, people have driven to the edges of that restricted zone, peering through binoculars, waiting for a glimpse of something extraordinary. They camped under the stars, scanning the skies for movement. Some swore they saw it. A flash of light, a metallic shape, a pulse of energy that vanished before they could focus. And when they did, their stories joined the growing constellation of testimony, each one feeding the collective legend. The desert became a pilgrimage site for the curious, a modern-day oracle where science and superstition met under the same sky. Every society needs its forbidden place. The ancient world had temples that only priests could enter, caves that held the bones of gods, mountains said to touch the heavens. In the modern age, Area 51 became that place, a sacred geography of the unknown. It represented the border between what we know and what we believe might be true. And while ancient mysteries inspired worship, modern ones inspire investigation. Our temples are now data archives, our rituals are online debates, our priests are scientists and whistleblowers. But the impulse remains the same, to breach the wall of secrecy and step into the realm of forbidden knowledge. It's easy to mock conspiracy theorists, to dismiss their passion as paranoia. But behind the wildest theories lies something deeply human, a yearning to make sense of the gaps in our understanding. When official narratives contradict observation, when governments hide behind classified labels, the mind seeks coherence elsewhere. People begin connecting dots that might not exist, yet the pattern comforts them because it feels complete. In this sense, Area 51 isn't just a physical location, it's a metaphor for our collective curiosity, for that empty space in our knowledge we can't stop trying to fill. What's fascinating is that the secrecy around Area 51 has created an entire economy of curiosity. Movies, books, documentaries, merchandise, each iteration adding new layers to the myth. Hollywood turned it into a backdrop for alien invasions and government conspiracies. Talk shows invited former insiders to reveal shocking secrets. The more fantastic the claims, the bigger the audience. The desert base became both a mystery and a brand, selling not truth, but wonder. And perhaps that's the ultimate triumph of curiosity. It transforms fear into fascination, ignorance into storytelling. The rise of the internet only amplified the phenomenon. In the digital age, everyone became an investigator. Satellite images of Area 51 were dissected by millions of amateur analysts. Online forums traded in leaked photos and supposed insider testimonies. Rumors spread faster than ever before, blurring the line between revelation and fabrication. But even as disinformation grew, so did the collective hunger for truth. The secrecy had created not just curiosity, but a culture of curiosity. It's interesting to consider that if the government had been transparent from the beginning, if it had simply said, "Yes, this is where we test aircraft," the myth might never have taken root. But by keeping silent, they invited the world to dream. What they tried to contain became uncontrollable. Silence, it turns out, is louder than words when it echoes across decades. At its core, this story is not about aliens or technology. It's about trust. Secrecy fractures the fragile bond between authority and the public. Once people believe they're being deceived, they begin to doubt everything. In the vacuum of truth, speculation thrives. That's why secrecy, while powerful, is also perilous. It may guard knowledge, but it erodes credibility. The history of Area 51 demonstrates that you can control information, but you cannot control curiosity. Once people suspect there's a secret, they will chase it, invent it, or even become it. And so the legend persists. Even after declassified documents revealed that Area 51 was indeed used for spy plane testing, the public didn't lose interest. On the contrary, the official explanation only fueled more speculation. If that's what they're admitting, people said, imagine what they're not admitting. The truth, once hidden, had become too small to satisfy the myth. Secrecy creates shadows, and in those shadows the imagination thrives. It breeds storytellers, seekers, skeptics, and believers. It turns ordinary places into symbols of infinite possibility. That's why Area 51 still captures the human mind. It stands as proof that our curiosity is indomitable, that even in the face of silence, we will keep asking, searching, wondering. Because we are creatures who cannot stand the unknown. We push against every locked door, not only to see what's behind it, but to prove that no mystery, no authority, and no wall of secrecy can outlast our desire to know. They said Area 51 was empty. Maybe it is. Maybe it always was. But the space it truly filled was not in the desert. It was in the human imagination. And that space, once awakened, is impossible to empty again. Hidden knowledge has always shaped history, often more profoundly than the events visible on its surface. The story of Area 51, wrapped in shadows and guarded by silence, embodies this truth perfectly. What lies beneath that desert base may or may not be alien in origin, but the mere idea that knowledge can be hidden, locked away from the public eye, has changed the way people see science, government, and even reality itself. For centuries, power has belonged not just to those who rule openly, but to those who possess information others do not. Knowledge is not merely a record of truth. It is a weapon, a currency, a means of control. And in the case of Area 51, it represents the dangerous balance between discovery and secrecy, the idea that some truths might be too powerful for the world to handle. The human story is, in many ways, a story of what has been concealed and what has been revealed. From ancient libraries guarded by priests to wartime laboratories shielded by military fences, progress has always walked hand in hand with secrecy. The same scientific curiosity that drives humanity forward also threatens to unearth forces we do not fully understand. And when those forces appear, those in power face a choice to share knowledge and risk chaos, or to hide it and risk corruption. The legend of Area 51 exists in that uneasy space between the two. They said it was just an air base, a testing site for advanced aircraft. Yet, the evidence of something greater has lingered like static in the air for decades. Strange metals, unexplained energy readings, flight records with impossible velocities, all supposedly buried under layers of classification. Whether these accounts are true or not, the belief in them has shaped culture, politics, and the collective imagination of an entire generation. The very act of hiding knowledge gives it weight, importance, mystery. It becomes something larger than itself. And once people believe that their governments are keeping secrets from them, trust begins to erode. They start looking for patterns, for proof, for meaning behind every shadow. Hidden knowledge doesn't just stay locked away. It ripples outward, changing how the world thinks. Throughout history, secret knowledge has always defined the boundaries of power. Ancient civilizations were built on mysteries understood by the few, the geometry of the pyramids, the astronomical alignments of temples, the formulas for medicines and poisons. Knowledge was hoarded, passed from master to apprentice, hidden from the masses. The idea was simple. Knowledge equals control. Whoever controls information controls perception. And whoever controls perception controls the world. That same principle applies in the modern age. Area 51, with its fences and watchtowers, became the perfect symbol of that philosophy. It represents the ultimate forbidden archive, a place where science, secrecy, and authority converge into something untouchable. There's a reason why stories of hidden technology and alien artifacts stir such deep fascination. They speak to a universal fear that there are things out there that could change everything we know about existence, but that someone has decided we're not ready for them. That someone has chosen to guard those truths not for safety, but for power. Whether it's a machine that can defy gravity, a source of unlimited energy, or a being from another world, the idea of suppressed discovery challenges the very notion of progress. Because if the future has already been found and locked away, what does that say about the present we're living in? Imagine for a moment that deep beneath the Nevada desert lies not an alien craft, but something more unsettling. A technology of human origin, discovered or developed in secret, capable of altering everything from warfare to transportation to the balance of global power. Such knowledge would not be a curiosity, it would be a revolution, and revolutions are dangerous things when only a few possess their fire. Hidden knowledge, in that sense, becomes a double-edged sword. It promises safety but breeds suspicion. It grants power but invites paranoia. Every major leap in history began with someone uncovering a truth that others tried to suppress. The printing press shattered the monopoly of religious institutions over written knowledge. The microscope revealed worlds too small to imagine. The splitting of the atom turned science into a godlike force of creation and destruction. Each discovery pulled humanity forward, but each also came with fear. Fear of what happens when knowledge escapes control. The scientists of the Manhattan Project, who built the atomic bomb in secrecy, knew this fear intimately. They glimpsed the consequences of their own hidden work in the blinding light over Hiroshima. And in that moment, they understood what it meant to hold knowledge that could both save and doom the world. Area 51 is the spiritual descendant of that tradition, the hidden laboratory where discovery meets danger. Whether it's alien or human technology being tested there, the principle remains the same. The most powerful knowledge is often the kind we can't afford to share. And yet, by keeping it hidden, those in power alter the course of civilization. They decide who gets to shape the future. The irony is that in trying to control knowledge, secrecy often amplifies its influence. When people are told they cannot know something, that thing becomes irresistible. It gains a mythic aura, transforming from a fact into a force. The secrecy around Area 51 has done exactly that. It turned a military facility into a cultural phenomenon, an idea bigger than any truth it might contain. It inspired generations to question authority, to doubt official narratives, to wonder whether humanity's understanding of reality is incomplete. In that sense, the hidden knowledge of Area 51 has already changed history, even if none of it ever escapes those desert walls. Consider how the world shifted after the first supposed leaks. Photographs of unidentified craft, testimonies from alleged insiders, strange documents marked top secret. Each piece, whether genuine or fabricated, contributed to a collective awakening. People began to ask, what if our governments have already achieved breakthroughs far beyond what we're told? What if the technologies that could end hunger, reverse climate change, or enable interstellar travel already exist, buried in classified vaults? That idea, once planted, grew like wildfire. It became a cultural myth that questioned not only governments, but science itself. If the truth is hidden, then even facts can't be trusted. This shift in perception is the real power of hidden knowledge. It doesn't just alter what people know. It changes how people believe. The secrecy surrounding Area 51 has turned skepticism into a global instinct. In a world where information flows freely, secrecy feels unnatural, almost sinister. And when institutions cling to secrecy, they invite doubt in everything they do. The result is a society obsessed with uncovering hidden truths, whether they exist or not. Conspiracy theories, alternative sciences, underground research. All these movements are echoes of the same impulse, born from one central question: what are they not telling us? But hidden knowledge doesn't just shape individuals, it shapes nations. During the Cold War, the race for secret technology defined global politics. Nations competed not only for weapons, but for information. Spies and scientists became as important as soldiers. The possession of advanced technology meant dominance. The loss of secrecy meant vulnerability. This mentality carved the world into zones of silence, where research thrived in the dark. Area 51 was one such zone, but it was not alone. The Soviet Union had its own secret facilities, Europe had others, and even private corporations began building their own black labs. Humanity entered an era where the most important discoveries no longer belonged to the public sphere. They belonged to shadows. This shift had philosophical consequences as well. It redefined what it meant to be informed. Knowledge was no longer something anyone could reach through study and reason. It became something guarded, controlled, and rationed. The ordinary citizen could only glimpse fragments of the truth, filtered through the lenses of secrecy and propaganda. This imbalance between the known and the unknown created a permanent tension in modern civilization, a sense that reality itself might be only half visible. And perhaps that's the greatest legacy of places like Area 51C. They remind us that reality has layers, and that access to those layers defines power. When knowledge is hidden, history becomes malleable. Those who know the truth can shape narratives, revise events, and guide progress in ways invisible to everyone else. Imagine if the next great energy breakthrough, the cure for a global disease, or proof of extraterrestrial life, were already discovered, but deemed too disruptive to release. The entire direction of human development could hinge on a handful of decisions made in secret. That possibility is terrifying and profoundly plausible. Yet, there's another side to the story. Sometimes, knowledge is hidden not out of greed or control, but out of necessity. Perhaps some truths genuinely are too dangerous to share too soon. A technology that could rewrite physics might also destabilize economies, religions, and identities. A discovery proving the existence of other intelligent life could shake the foundations of human culture. There is a delicate line between protection and suppression, and those guarding hidden knowledge must walk it carefully. But the longer they hide it, the greater the curiosity grows, and the more uncontrollable it becomes. We see echoes of this dilemma everywhere. Scientists uncover phenomena they can't explain. Governments redact reports that hint at impossible technologies. Whistleblowers vanish or are discredited. Each incident, whether true or exaggerated, reinforces the same perception. There are truths out there too great for public eyes. And whether or not that's justified, it has reshaped the relationship between people and authority forever. Even the digital age, with all its transparency, has deepened the mystery. The more information we gain access to, the more we realize how much remains hidden. Classified documents, encrypted data, restricted networks. The infrastructure of secrecy has only grown stronger. It's as though modern civilization runs on two parallel tracks, one public, where progress is slow and visible, and another secret, where discoveries leap ahead in silence. The gap between them is where myths like Area 51 are born. And maybe, in a strange way, those myths serve a purpose. They remind us that curiosity is our most enduring force, that no matter how tightly knowledge is controlled, it will always find its seekers. People will always question, explore, imagine. They will build theories from scraps, create meaning from rumors, and chase hidden truths even at great risk. Because the hunger to know is what defines humanity. It's what led our ancestors to map the stars, to cross oceans, to split the atom. And even now, it's what drives us to peer into the skies above Nevada, wondering what glows beyond the horizon. So perhaps the real secret of Area 51 isn't what lies beneath it, but what it represents. It stands as a monument to the tension between knowledge and control, between revelation and restraint. Whether or not there are alien crafts or advanced technologies buried there is almost irrelevant. What matters is that the idea of hidden knowledge has already changed us. It has made us question what we are told, challenge the limits of authority, and dream of a universe far larger than we've been shown. In the end, hidden knowledge doesn't just shape history, it creates it. Every revolution, every breakthrough, every collapse begins with something once concealed coming to light. And though we may never know what sleeps beneath that desert sand, one truth remains undeniable. What humanity hides, humanity will one day seek. And what humanity seeks, it will eventually find. Because the hunger for knowledge, no matter how deeply buried, cannot be contained forever.